Hey Giants Nation. So it's draft combine time, and everybody knows that interviews. Well, if you didn't know, now you know that interviews were done today. I did a video on Joe Judge's interview, and now I'm going to break down a little bit what Dave Gettleman's interview was. And I'm telling you now, at first I was open to Gettleman. Um, and the more I hear him talk, the more it just makes me want to rip my hair out. He is he got ripped apart for having Pat Shermer do all the interviews during the season when they were, sliding downhill. I'd rather listen to Joe Judge or Pat Shermer or a brick in the wall than Gettleman. Just stay behind the scenes, please. You make yourself look really bad, and the general manager of the organization, you need to stop. Let Joe Judge talk. He's he's more uh, he's more precise with his words, let's say, and you're fumbling all over the place like I am. Um, he emphasized a lot that they're going to take the best player. He said that first year was when he took Saquon. Saquon was definitely the best player available. Um, Last year, Daniel Jones, even though I think he's going to be the franchise quarterback for the Giants, I don't think he was the best player available. So I think there's a little egg on his face for that one. And then, depending on who you go here, um, unless it's completely out of the realm of possibility that you pick somebody who's mocked in the third, it's going to be fans and the analysts' um, standpoint on if it was the best player available. Whether that's a Simmons, a Chase Young, an Okuda, an Epineza, who I love. I'm going to keep saying Epineza. I really like him. Offensive tackle Andrew Thomas, Mekhi Becton, Jerry Jeudy, C.D. Lamb. There's a lot of options there. So, um, big the big news was that um, he said that he was open to trading back in the draft, and I'm a big fan of that. Well, he said it comes with dangers because if they're at four now, what if for a hypothetical, they trade back to eight? So you're losing four spots. And you have four guys that you really like, and one of them is not there when it's your turn to draft again. Why are you only looking at four players? Is my question. Again, it was a hypothetical question. I understand that, but your job as a general manager is to scout. Fine, there are scouts out there, but the scouts come back to you and say, "This is the information that we compiled. You need to figure this out now." Basically, um, but I'm a I would really like to see that happen. I say the Chargers are an option. The Dolphins. Now with those guys, you'll get maybe an extra second and maybe a fifth, but that's going to offset the third from trading for Leonard Williams during the year. Um, Also, I wouldn't mind. I don't know. This is just pure speculation on my part that the Jaguars would be an option. They have two picks. It's the ninth pick and the 20th pick. So there's two first round picks, and maybe if you play your cards right, you can ask for a third or a fourth if they really want that. Or the Raiders, for example, they have two picks. I want to say maybe they are 8 or 10. I think they're 10. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But the reports have been that they're really high on Justin Herbert. So come up to four to get Justin Herbert, and then Carr's out the door. He could be, speculation has been the Bears or the Colts. So you can get a couple first round picks there and maybe later round picks too. So that is really big because he's always been about best player available. Um, what if you can get multiple first round picks? Granted, DeAndre Baker, at the end of the year he came on, but the first half of the season he really was hit or miss. Again, but was he playing in he's a man press cornerback, and they had him playing zone, and he looked lost, just completely lost. Um, a lot of people kept asking about Daniel Jones and if he's going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants going forward, because Joe Judge had the interview first, and he said that it's an open depth chart. Everybody has a blank slate. There's no 1, 2, 3 yet. And then Gettleman, he was asked 2 or 3 times, and he said the same thing that Joe Judge did, except he got a little irritated like the third time he was asked, and he was like, "Who's the quarterback the last game of the season?" And they said Daniel Jones. He said, "Well, there you go." So again, they're not going to go away from your Daniel Jones, your Saquon Barkley's, your Darius Layton's, your Julius Peppers of the world. They're there. They're the main core. Your Zeitlers of the world. You made it, unfortunately, Soldier. So, one big quote that got me, he said, "We don't have veterans in the building who are New York Football Giants." Now, what that means is that they don't have that player like let's say, Aaron Rodgers in the building, who's been there for 5, 6, 10 years, who is a New York Giant, who's going to preach that. So he said if they're going to go out in free agency and pick up a veteran, they need to have that New York Football Giant mindset. That's huge. You just can't go out and pay buku bucks, millions of dollars for a player because, hey, you have the cap space this year. They need to really dive into character. Do you want to be a New York Giant? Are you going to be the guy in the locker room? Now that Eli Manning is gone, who's going to say, "Listen, guys, this is what it's about to be. This is what a New York Giant is all about, and this is what we need to do." You need not necessarily a cheerleader, but you need somebody who's going to pump the guys up. And granted, you have Saquon, but he's been there only a couple of years. So they really need that veteran presence. Again, I'm not a big fan of going after the veteran guys, but if they're still a viable option and they are still can play the game, don't go out and get a 34-year-old guy just because he can be rah-rah. This is what it is. You need to go out there and play like you are speaking. That is huge. He said that Daniel Jones, he needs to be upright to learn the game, and that tackle or offensive tackle is definitely a thing that they're going to be looking at. He didn't say draft or free agency. He said we're going to be looking at that. So they're both. He didn't say, hey, at 4 we're going to pick whomever. But he acknowledged that it was definitely a thing. He brought up a book that Bill Walsh wrote. I forget the name of it. But he said that whether you're a coach, an assistant, a player, whatever you are, it usually takes 2 years for that player or the coach to fully develop into the caliber of coach or player, whatever they're going to be. He said nowadays you have 19, 20, 21-year-old guys coming out of college. He said that's more like a 3-year thing. So expect going forward that you see your Joe Judges. He needs to stick around. There's been too many Ben McAdoo's and gone, and Pat Shurmur's and gone. Stick with them. It's not going to work if you constantly have a different scheme, a different philosophy in the building. You need to stick with what is going to work with you. And Joe Judge, from every interview that I've seen, he seems to be the guy. And again, he says that one of the last things he said was that unrestricted free agency is going to allow the Giants to pick the best available player in the draft. So they really need to hit a home run. If you can go out and you can get your pieces, they obviously are looked at free agency already. They're looking at the draft already. If you can go and you can get the players in free agency, I'm not saying spend all your money, but you can get BC players. If you have 1 or 2 A players that you can get B, C players, and be able to compete. The Giants, 2 Super Bowls. Your Mario Manninghams of the world, your David Tyrees of the world, your Chase Blackburns of the world. They weren't the top tier, but they were the BC players who were going in big moments. They're going to get that interception, or they're going to catch it on the sideline. So that was Gettleman's interview that he had. I'm really, not really impressed with him. I know no Giants fan is. He just needs to stay in the background and let Joe Judge be the mouthpiece for the Giants. That's what I think. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. We're up to 16. And thanks for watching, everybody.